Good afternoon and welcome to the SCR webinar, Keys to Good Tenancy, Building Good Tenants in Your Community with Family Promise. Our presenters today are Maggie Berhard and Brenda Wall. Maggie is a proud mule, having studied history and media and communications at Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania. She has stayed involved in the college community beyond her 4 years and currently serves on the school's alumni board and Young Alumni Council. Maggie earned her Master's of Public Administration with a concentration in nonprofit management from Rutgers, Newark. Prior to her work at Family Promise, Maggie worked in volunteer management at Jersey Cares and then New York Cares, both part of the Point of Light network. At these organizations, Maggie worked to engage corporate and civic groups in volunteer service and train new volunteer leaders. Working with volunteers showed her the impact that one person can make in their community, whether painting a room, tutoring a child, or serving a meal. Brenda Wall is the Director of Programs at Family Promise of Lawrence and has served there for 4 years. An ordained minister, Brenda came to Family Promise from a varied background of years in ministry in Russia and the healthcare field in Lawrence, Kansas. Though these experiences seem unrelated, both prepared her in multiple ways for the incredible adventure that is Family Promise. Thank you all. Thank you both for joining us today. And Maggie, I turn the presentation over to you.
Thanks, Chelsea. So as Chelsea just introduced, I am Maggie, and I will be joined later by Brenda, and we're here to talk about our Keys to Good Tenancy program. Okay, so there we are, our nice, beautiful pictures. So I am all the way up in New Jersey, and Brenda's out in Kansas. So we will be doing this from different rooms today, but Family Promise is a national organization, which is why we're talking. So what you'll learn today, first off, you'll learn what Family Promise is. So why are we talking to you? What is Keys to Good Tenancy? And then I will pass it over to Brenda, who will talk to you about how affiliates are utilizing the program and how can you get involved.
Hey Maggie, sorry to interrupt. I think your screen is still.
There you go. Here is my what you'll learn today. And if you wanted to see our smiling faces, I can possibly get that back to you. There we are. So first off, what is Family Promise? So you may be familiar with Family Promise because you might have congregation or families experiencing homelessness, sleeping over in your congregation for weeks at a time. Family Promise is a national organization, but we're so much more than just that shelter program that you might be familiar with. We focus on shelter, prevention, stabilization, community, and finally promise. And so across the country, we have about 200 affiliates. We all have the same core values, but we all have very different programs. And so one of the programs that a lot of our affiliates offer is Keys to Good Tenancy. You can see a little bit more about some of our impacts over the years. So we have 200 affiliates in 43 states. Last year, so this is in 2018, we served 126,000 people, and we're getting the 2019 numbers in as we speak. So next time you hear this, it will probably have gone up. We've served 950,000 people since we were founded 30 years ago. 88% of those that we work with find housing after after graduating from the program. We have 200,000 volunteers, 6,000 congregations and organizations that they work with, provide 864,360 bed nights. We share over 2 million meals. We have served over 2 million volunteer hours. And as you can see, that is a lot of volunteer time value. And Keys to Good Tenancy is just one of the ways that we're utilizing volunteers to serve the families that we work with. Okay, so you guys are all here because you are from South Carolina. So I wanted to show you a little bit of a map of where we do have affiliates in South Carolina. You can see all of our locations on the side, And actually, the Lawrence County affiliate is just having a ribbon cutting in a couple weeks. So that will be our newest affiliate pretty soon. So we do have a lot of affiliates in South Carolina, as well as in other neighboring locations as well. And so I put a dot on the map where the main day center is, but they serve people outside of that specific city as well. And as you can see, generally serve the surrounding area or county. And so I have mentioned affiliate a million times. I am from Family Promise National Office, so we are a national organization, and we have different Family Promise programs across the country. They're each their own organization, but they all, as I said before, have that same core value of wanting to serve families through community support. So now we have what is Keys to Good Tenancy. So the goal of Keys to Good Tenancy is to help families that Family Promise serve gain the knowledge and skills that they need to be good tenants so that they can make the transition from homelessness to stable home environment. So that's the goal of Keys to Good Tenancy. When we've done this presentation before, we've been lucky to have some of our volunteer realtors join in with us, and Brenda will talk about them later. But what I always think that they point out is that the goal of realtors is the same as the goal of Family Promise. The goal is just to get families into houses. And so it's a partnership that just makes a lot of sense because you have the same goal. We have the same goals. And so this curriculum was actually created with the National Association of Realtors. So this was created in conjunction with them. And it utilized feedback from our affiliate directors, our guest advisory council, and as well as some pilot affiliates. So our guest advisory council is a group of individuals who have experienced homelessness and who have succeeded after graduating our program. And we go to them to get their feedback on what they think of new programs that we're launching and see how they would help their families while they were there. And as I said before, we have our pilot affiliates. Lawrence, Kansas was one of these. So before launching our curriculum to our whole network, we launched it with about 10 affiliates. So they could play around with it, they could test it out and see what worked best for them. So in general, the training consists of 8 modules. So the first training is an introduction and setting goals. The next is finding a place to rent, understanding your lease, moving day, household budgeting, cleaning, organization, and maintenance, being a good neighbor, and renter's rights. So in the Keys to Good Tenancy curriculum, we have all of these modules written up with materials for both the participants and the facilitators on all of these topics. And what is great is these can be standalone topics as well. So maybe an affiliate just wants to learn about being a good neighbor or renter's rights. They can just lead those modules and not focus on the other ones that may not be relevant. So part of the curriculum is, as I mentioned, facilitators guides, student guides, PowerPoints, a certificate, and a best practices guide. And so the Keys to Good Tenancy curriculum is 2 parts. We have the facilitators guide, so that's where you would be coming in. So this is you as an expert in the field could teach classes about signing a rental agreement or what rights might be. And the student also has a guide that they can utilize as a resource, they can use for any homework that they have, and just to go back on throughout the process. So there are 2 sets of guides in this program. As you can see, the facilitator guide has a lot more instructions on how to get started. So we have the timeline, we have ways to teach the class, and relating to their student guide as well. We have these PowerPoints. As I mentioned, we did a pilot program, and this is actually that came out of the feedback from the pilot program. What the affiliates were finding is that nowadays people aren't used to being lectured or just talked to. So having the PowerPoint as a way to have something visual to go alongside with the curriculum was really helpful. So the affiliates that piloted the program were actually the ones that created the PowerPoints out of the curriculum that they could show with class. And so really what's great about this curriculum, and Brenda will talk about this more, is it's really flexible as to the needs of the particular affiliate or to the preferences of the people that are facilitating it. Some facilitators might not like PowerPoints. You wouldn't have to use them then. One of the nice things that we put together as well is a Keys to Good Tenancy certificate. So that way, once people participate in the program, they've completed all the courses, they can get this certificate that they could then bring to a future landlord to say, hey, I did a program about Keys to Good Tenancy, and I really think that this should help me when I'm applying for this apartment. So this is just a way to prove that they've completed the training. Aha. The last thing that I wanted to bring up is we also created best practices. So part of our pilot program was to create best practices around utilizing the trainings, utilizing the volunteers, recruiting volunteers, and we really looked toward the feedback from the people who'd used the program. And so we created that as well, which is accessible to all of our affiliates so that they can make the best out of the program. One of the key helpers for the best practices was Family Promise of Lawrence, Kansas. And so that's a good starting to segue. So I'm going to switch over to Brenda in a moment. She is from Family Promise of Kansas. And so they have been one of the participants in this program since we started the pilot. What is great about their affiliate is they had a relationship already with their local board of realtors. So they were able to leverage that relationship and turn the realtors into volunteers who would actually lead these programs. So Brenda's going to talk to you a little bit more about that experience and also about how you can get involved if this seems of interest to you. So here you go, Brenda.
Hi, and welcome, and thank you to all who are participating today. We believe that this is a really great program, and that's why we're excited to share it with other organizations who may want to use it in their own communities. So we're going to talk about the program itself, how affiliates operate this, and how we do some recruiting and how we do scheduling. So as you can see from this slide, we're looking at how we can, who do we select to participate in this? How do we select the modules? Where and when are we going to do this? And who's going to facilitate the training, or how is it going to be facilitated? So next slide, Maggie. We're going to talk about picking participants, because this is what's going to drive how you do the program throughout the time. So the first question to ask is, who are you hosting these trainings for? This is going to help with the planning and the scheduling and figuring out what modules you're going to use. So while this program can be utilized for different audiences and mixed group, this chart here gives an idea of the standard audiences that Family Promise reaches out to. So we have the current guess that for our affiliate, we require families in a couple of our programs to attend a Tuesday night life skills class that we already have going on, and it's a couple times a year. Then we offer the Keys to Good Tenancy class on this Tuesday night class, and so we have about 10 families who are required to attend that. So it is helpful that they get a certificate, as Maggie mentioned, and that they know that that's going to be helpful to them. But we do have some required attendees, but you can open it up to a lot of different people as well, depending on your community and the affiliate you may be working with. This year, we were also able to, our affiliate started working with families who are sheltered at our local community shelter, and we were able to offer this program to them, which is a huge asset to the families at the shelter and to the staff at the shelter who just didn't have the time or the resources to do this themselves. So there are lots of different organizations or community partners that you could partner with. We've thought here about offering it to the domestic violence shelter, youth aging out of foster care, other agencies or organizations that provide rental or utility assistance. Those could provide all sorts of participants for you as well. So it's good to think about kind of maybe outside the box. If maybe a local Family Promise affiliate would have really small numbers, maybe you can reach out to other agencies that they partner with in different ways too. So, and one good resource for you all as realtors you probably know a lot of the local landlords, and maybe they can recommend some of their renters. And we've talked to a lot of landlords who, call us because they have a family living in a unit that they've been behind on rent since the day they moved in, and they don't want to kick them out, but they don't know what to do. So this may be a good program for those kinds of situations as well. And it can really be a huge boost to the Family Promise affiliate to give them exposure in the community too. So the next slide is on choosing your modules. And as Maggie already spoke about, these modules are so flexible, and that's something that I really love about the curriculum as it's been written. While there are 8 modules and they're set to run from number 1 to number 8 over the course of the program, and there is a logical order to them, that you don't have to follow that order exactly. You can change up the order, the pace, you can use all 8, or you can modify them based on your group. So again, knowing who your participants are is going to help you drive how you present the curriculum too. So you can skip modules based on participant experience. For example, if all of your participants are already in a rental, then maybe consider skipping over the early modules, introducing that process of how to find a place to live. Once you start the program, then use that group, that first introductory session, to discuss with the group about what kinds of things that they want to learn about, what their mistakes or problems have been in the past with renting, so that you can make sure that you address those issues as you go throughout the program. And utilize the skills of the presenters for sure. As Maggie said, look at the realtors who may be presenting. Maybe you have somebody who has good budgeting skills or has some experience in budgeting or finance. Use that to your advantage and excuse me, use that to your advantage. Individual modules or specific parts can be integrated, as I said earlier, into a specific class. So you can figure out how you're going to make that work. For us, the first time we ran it, we did all 8 modules, and then we determined that that wasn't necessary for the families that we were presenting this to. And we decided to cut out parts of several modules, and we consolidated some, and we made it a 5-week course. And that better fits our schedules, and it does make it easier on scheduling with the presenters as well. So you don't have to have quite as many presenters, and it doesn't go over such a long period of time. So the next slide is on scheduling, and this is something that's, most of it's pretty common sense. Keep in mind the stakeholders' availability. So you're looking at the participants, maybe the host organization or the host site, and definitely the presenters. And know that you'll need to stay away from busy seasons when people are on vacation or there's a busy time of year. I know realtors, things pick up at certain times of the year, so you probably want to avoid those times of year. If you're working with a Family Promise affiliate, they may have some busy times of year, like around a large fundraiser or during the grant writing or grant reporting season. You may want to avoid those. And then you need to make sure that you don't push it faster than you need to, because you need to allow time to recruit realtors and participants. So make sure that you have the people in place to make it a really good program for you, especially that first time around. And then the last thing is understand your real estate climate. And I think you guys probably know that pretty well. And that's the beauty of having realtors involved in this, being presenters for this program. You know about the trends in your community, when it's a good time to rent and when it's not. For example, in our community, we're a college community, and the University of Kansas is located here. And so most leases around here run from August through July. And so we know that it's really hard for families to find rental units in August because the landlords are holding out for the college students. And so, and maybe that's a really hard time to rent. So helping scheduling the curriculum, the classes for Keys to Good Tenancy, you might think about when would families need to start looking for a place, and maybe we get that class in right before then. Those kinds of things are things to think about as you're thinking about scheduling. And then the next slide talks about how do you present this? Do you do one-on-one or do you do group training sessions? It can be offered either way. For the local affiliate, the case managers may be able to offer it one-on-one as part of their case management program, or it can be done in a classroom setting, or actually a combination of both might work too, considering who you have participating. So think about the pros and cons when determining how you're going to present it. We have found that having the group setting is really beneficial in some ways, because you have people there who have some experience with renting, and often it's a bad experience, and you have some people who have never rented before, never looked for a place of their own before. And so there can be some good interaction and dialogue between those groups of people, talking about mistakes that they've made or problems that they ran into. And for our affiliate, we've only offered group classes so far, but we do make it available for students if they want to complete the whole course and get the certificate, that they can sit down with a realtor one-on-one and cover the material that they missed. And our realtors that we work with have been really gracious in offering that opportunity too. So there are various ways that this course can be completed and the pertinent information get into the hands of the people who really need it. The next slide is about leading the sessions. And so one of the things you probably know, because you probably all sat through educational sessions in the past, it's really important to have an interactive class and to make it interesting and to keep people engaged. So this can be done through discussions or questions or activities. A great example of an activity that's been used by other affiliates is that they present a typical standard lease for their city, and they have a lease scavenger hunt. So the presenter will ask them, find where it says, for example, if you can have pets in the unit. And so people are looking all over for that. And then you ask different questions that direct them to really important parts of the lease, especially. And that way people become familiar with it. They learn about what is acceptable and not acceptable. They learn what the expectations are in a really fun way, rather than just reading through a standard lease, which can be really boring, even if you're signing your own lease to move into a place. One presenter that we have for our classes, she always presents the module on cleaning and organization, and she's really amazing. She provides every family in that class with a bucket full of inexpensive cleaning supplies like bleach, vinegar, baking soda, gloves, and sponges. And she presents that to each family. And I think that's a really great way to engage the families and to help them feel like, oh, this is something important, this is something interesting. And it's a really nice gift to people too. So engaging the participants is important to getting people to return and complete the entire session. And this can be a really good time for guests to share their stories, ask questions, and discuss with others. And I recommend the PowerPoint slides that have been created. They're really great slides. They're bright and colorful. They have nice pictures, and they can help the presenter feel more comfortable, and they really add something to the class. So I really appreciate that the National Office has done that. And we want everyone to be aware too that about the time. We offer the classes in the evening. We bring everybody together at 6:30. We eat together, and then the kids go with childcare providers, and the parents sit down in the class that runs from 7 to 8 in the evening. So we ask that presenters really be aware of the end time, because by 8 o'clock in the evening, kiddos are tired and cranky, and parents are tired and cranky, and making that class too long can just be detrimental. So make sure you're aware of the time frame you're given, and kind of all the things that are going on with the families as you're sitting down to talk about this. And part of being aware of the time too is being able to maybe shut down unnecessary lines of discussion. It can easily turn into people who have had bad experiences really bad-mouthing their landlords and things like that, and that's not helpful to the discussion. So being able to kind of shut those things down, or helping move along the discussion if one person's trying to dominate. So that takes a little bit of attention to what's going on, but it can be done quite well. And there's always homework at the end of each session for the families to take home and work on. And we encourage the students to do the homework, but to be perfectly honest, these are really busy people who don't have time often to sit down and do the homework. So you can do some kind of maybe incentives, like offer small gift cards, maybe to like a local ice cream place or something like that, for those who have it completed by the next class. And that might be something that would help people get things done and make it fun at the same time. And then the last thing that we ask is that the presenters are sensitive to the participants and to what's going on with them and their situation, maybe their background. You know, not everyone's comfortable discussing their rental experience if they've had bad experiences, if they've made stupid mistakes in the past. That can be really embarrassing and shameful for some people. Some may have difficulty renting due to a criminal record, and that's hard to talk about sometimes. The first time we offered this class, the realtor who presented it admitted he wasn't prepared for that part of the presentation, and he wasn't sure how to handle it, and he felt really awkward bringing it up. And so we talked through it, that, you know, talking about somebody's criminal record can be uncomfortable, but it's something that does need to be addressed. And so just approaching it in a matter-of-fact way and saying, yeah, if you have something like that on your record, here's what you need to do to handle that, or how do you bring that up to a landlord. So our affiliate conducts a sensitivity training for all the realtors who will be presenting in class. This helps give them a better understanding of the backgrounds and situations that families are coming from. For instance, the families we're working with are not, for the most part, looking to buy a home within the next couple of years. They're really just trying to find a safe place to live that they can afford. So the sensitivity training provides presenters with the words and confidence they might need to approach difficult topics, like I said, it's such as criminal records, domestic violence, and those kinds of things. And next, we want to talk about how you can get involved. And so we want to talk about, the next slide is on recruiting realtors. So this training, as Maggie said at the beginning, was developed in conjunction with the National Association of Realtors. So this is really a perfect fit for realtors to engage in as facilitators, because as Maggie said, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, you have the same goals as Family Promise to help families get housed in safe housing. But these can be led by any trained volunteer who have some background knowledge. In general, it's been found that tag teaming with teaching was really most beneficial. This could mean multiple realtors, like sharing one module, one person present the first half and the second person present the second half, depending maybe on their skills and their interest in that material. But it also could mean involving the case manager from the Family Promise affiliate along with the realtor. And we actually recommend having a case manager or staff from Family Promise at least present during the class. This takes some pressure off the realtor from dealing with the issues of sensitivity that they may not be fully prepared to handle. So a case manager could jump in and kind of direct that conversation in the way that it needs to go. And our affiliate, when we do it, we use only realtors to present, and they do a great job, but we always have staff in attendance to help facilitate any of those difficult conversations or questions. And as I said earlier, having multiple realtors allows each one to select their strong area of knowledge to present on. Maybe one person is good at budgeting or knowledgeable about renters and landlord rights, so use them to teach those modules. And really, the more a person presents, the more comfortable they become with the material and with the participants. And this really only strengthens and improves the course and makes it better every time you present it. The next one is outreach to realtors. Of course, that's pretty easy for all of you because that's who you are and that's who you interact with on a regular basis. But Family Promise affiliates are constantly looking for more community partners to help accomplish their goals, and realtors are a natural partner. So our local affiliate, as Maggie said, we had been developing a relationship with our local board of realtors for several years before we launched the Keys class partnership. The Lawrence Board of Realtors had provided small grants to us for several years in a row, and then our executive director recruited them to assist on a remodel of a fourplex that we had been given the use of for some temporary housing. So the Lawrence Board of Realtors provided teams to paint, tear out carpet, lay flooring, replace faucets, all that kind of good stuff. And that really strengthened our partnership with them and with the leadership. And so soon it didn't take much for them to be on board with the Keys to Good Tenancy class. So we'd encourage you, if you are not already aware of or knowledgeable or connected with a Family Promise affiliate, to reach out, to get to know their mission and their programs, contact the executive director to begin developing that relationship, and understand that this might be a bit of a process to build a good, strong, trusting relationship for the staff of the affiliate to feel comfortable with working with you, and for your realtors to really dive into something like this. And the last point on here is target realtors with property management experience. It's not necessary to have this experience, but really that can be valuable to the participants to talk with somebody who has been that property manager, who has had to evict people, who has had to maybe do some education with people, and to help the families better understand why this is important. So that could be a really good connection for the people that are participating in your class. The next slide is about educating realtors. And here's kind of where we're kind of giving away our secrets on how we're trained to talk to realtors. Not really, but our mission is the same, to get people into safe, affordable housing. And for some Family Promise families, long-term goals do include home ownership. So that is definitely a partnership that is just natural and beautiful. But don't let the content and the materials scare you off. While the theme may be rentals, there is the long-term goal of homeownership for some families. And truthfully, by providing this type of education, you're making your community, your neighborhoods, a better, stronger community. Because when families are stably housed, the whole community benefits. There are statistics that show that. So don't be scared away by the fact that this is mostly about renting, because this helps build a stronger, more stable, improved community. So begin with education. For those who are unfamiliar with Family Promise, excuse me, they need some education on the organization and the local affiliate. And it's best if there's some education on family homelessness as an issue as well for the realtors. According to a survey of Family Promise volunteers nationwide, their top motivations for volunteering are to serve children and families and the importance of the Family Promise mission. So sharing the mission of Family Promise can be very motivating to recruiting realtors to become involved. When people hear that of all the individuals served by Family Promise across the nation, 50% of them are children under the age of 5, people are really motivated to participate in helping families get housed. Those statistics are compelling and heartbreaking, and that makes people want to really do something, whether this is totally within your wheelhouse or not. People want to do something to help families get housed. The last slide is tips to recruiting realtors from a realtor. So we sat down with one of our realtors. He actually presented this program with us at the National Family Promise conference last year. And so he had some great tips for, as a realtor, how do you recruit realtors? And he says to start small. Start out with a small partnership and allow it to grow. Maybe don't force it if it's not going naturally. But as I said, here in Lawrence, we had that partnership developing for several years before it blossomed into something, this great partnership that we have now. He also says to recognize the work that the volunteers are doing and don't forget to thank them. So whether that's in meetings that you have where everybody's coming, all the realtors are coming together for like monthly meetings or something like that, or if it's through newsletters or emails that go out to the whole group, make sure you recognize and thank those volunteers who are participating. Make them feel that their work is as important as it is. And that's good recruiting for other people who have not been involved yet either. Emphasize the logical connection, he says. Both realtors and Family Promise are looking to house people. That's a great connection right there. But also it's important to show the impact of the program and tell stories to engage your audience. One impact that I was able to share with our local board of realtors after the first time we presented the class, we had probably about 10 people attend on a regular basis and completed the class. We had 2 families then who were looking for permanent housing, and a landlord came to our affiliate and said she had this unit that she wanted to rent to a Family Promise family at a reduced rate, below market rate. And we were excited about that. So we sent her 2 families who had been through the program. One family was applying lots of different places and she was in a rush, and so she just kind of called when she could and filled out the application quickly and just kind of hurried through the process and didn't put a lot of intentionality into it. The other family was a couple who had both attended the class and really took in the information. So they followed the things that they had learned in the class. They wrote a letter to the landlord stating why they were excited about this opportunity to be housed, explaining a little bit about his criminal background and how things are different for them now. They showed up at the showing of the unit dressed as if they were dressed for a job interview. They did not take their 2-year-old daughter with them because that could have been detrimental to their cause as they were looking through the house because of some behaviors. They did all the right things. They followed up with her. They were on time for meetings and things like that. And the landlord offered the unit to this family who did everything right. And she shared with our executive director that she did that because of the way they presented themselves and how they how it appeared when they went through the whole application process. And so to us, that's a really tangible example of how this curriculum really is beneficial and how it really can work for a family, especially a family who may have difficulty getting housed somewhere. They can present the certificate, they can follow the guidelines and really do things well. And that can make a really good impression on a landlord, even if they don't have a great rental history. So that's a great impact story that can make a difference to recruiting the realtors. Connect with a board, connecting with a board of realtors or maybe the benevolence board that may be a part of your community is better than working with one individual realtor, because this allows people to speak to their strengths. So you can gather, a lot of different skills and strengths from a bigger group of people, so people can determine their own level of commitment. Identify realtors' strengths. I think that kind of covers, I'd already covered that. Look for people who are good leaders, people have good public speaking skills, and maybe then skills specific to some of the modules. And then this realtor, his name is Ryan, he pointed out, don't be shy to point out that you have that the Family Promise affiliate has probably 1,000+ supporters in the community who care about what companies share their mission, right? If they care about Family Promise, they care about the companies that they do business with and what their values are. So your connection with Family Promise will be known by the rest of the community who supports and believes in Family Promise. And that's good PR, right? That's going to help. That speaks well of your board, your individual realtors involved, and that can be good PR and good business for you all moving forward. So that's the end of my part of the presentation, and I'm going to turn it back to Chelsea, I believe.
Yeah, and
Great.
just to
Sorry.
just to add one final thing, if you are interested in getting connected to your local affiliate, you can send me an email. I have that on the last slide, but now I will give it to Chelsea.
Great, thank you both Maggie and Brenda. That was a great presentation. Currently, we actually do not have any questions, but I think if you said you had your contact information on the last slide, I'm sure they'll reach out with any questions they may come up with. So if no one else has any questions, this concludes our webinar. Thank you both again for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yeah, there's my email. You can disregard this link, but if you want to email me, you can contact me right there.
Great. Thank you both.